So welcome to our webinar. My name is Tricia Wilkie. I'm a mindfulness coach. I am an instructor member for Mental Health First Aid England, and I'm founder of a health and wellbeing training agency called the Mind Hub. I am very lucky today to be joined by two people who I have real pleasure in working alongside, Jenny and Andy, but I'm going to allow them just to come in and introduce themselves. So maybe who's on my, so Andrew, you're on my left, so maybe you go first and we'll come to Jenny.
Okay, Andy, Pike, Andrew, whatever you want to call me. I've been a personal trainer for just over a decade. I have a super passionate drive to just give everyone the reassurance that it is possible to rebuild your health and fitness. And that is going to be my mission for the foreseeable future. And I honestly cannot wait to get everyone stuck into this. I've been since I can remember, so I cannot wait, like I say, to a little insight through that everyone can do.
Oh, thanks, Andrew. And Jenny, was you able to hear Andrew okay there, or did the
A little
sound
bit,
just,
yeah, just to tape it off towards the end there.
yeah, just crackle just a little bit? Okay, but we're not going to let that dampen our happiness, right? So, Jenny, would you like to come in and introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Jenny, with an unspellable surname, and I'm an author of lots of cookery books, tea for the air fryer, and then some for the oven, and the instant pot, one pot multi-cooker. I'm also a nutritionist, importantly, and I do a lot of content creation, speaking, and I run loads of workshops.
Fantastic. And I highly recommend, I have all of Jenny's books and use them. They're not just books that you just sit on the shelves, although they do look pretty, but all the
They look
recipes, the
quite nice together, don't
instructions,
they?
they do look really lovely together. Yeah, they are. They're beautifully coordinated, but I highly recommend all of Jenny's cookbooks. So today's webinar, really, we're going to be discussing just some of the many ways that we can increase our levels of happiness. The Dalai Lama once said that happiness does not come ready-made, but it is something that we can cultivate through our everyday actions. And it's so true. However, I think those happiness actions, what that looks like for different people, can be very, wildly different and very unique. I know, Andy, you love training and competing in Ironman competitions and doing ice baths and things like that, which would not be in my happiness toolkit, but you do you, and you love it, and that's it. We're all so wonderfully unique, aren't we? So in this session, we're not here to dictate to anyone what you should be doing to increase your levels of happiness. But in this short session, we hope to share some snippets of our own expertise and modalities, and hope to inspire you to think about ways that you can increase and build in activities into your day to increase your own levels of happiness. The title for today is How to Get Your Daily Dose of Happiness. So DOSE, D-O-S-E, stands for the natural mood boosting hormones that we all have within us, being dopamine, which is our reward hormone. When you tick something off your to-do list, or you achieve that goal, how big or small it is, you get that rush. Yeah, that's your reward, that hit of dopamine. The O in dose stands for oxytocin. And oxytocin is our love hormone, our cuddle hormone. It's our connection hormone. So when you connect to someone or something, you just get that lovely, warm, fuzzy feeling inside. That's oxytocin flooding through your body, and through the action of connection you've released, and you're feeling the effects of oxytocin in your body. We also have serotonin, which you may have heard of. So that's the S in dose. Serotonin is your happy hormone. It's also really helpful for boosting and feeding into our levels of self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-worth. There's many ways that we can increase the flow and distribute serotonin around our body through our everyday actions. And then the E in dose stands for endorphins. So you may have heard of endorphins as being called a runner's high. If you've done a HIIT session or you've been out for a run and you get that buzz that you get from exercising. That's endorphins flooding your body. And endorphins are also your body's natural painkillers. And actually, when you're stressed, the flow of endorphins is inhibited, and that's why you feel you've got more aches and pains that you didn't even know you had, because endorphins were masking that pain. So endorphins, again, just like all of these other neuro transmitters, mood boosting hormones around your body, are really, really helpful to us in our everyday. But it's not just there's so many ways that we can encourage the flow of all these hormones just by simply moving our bodies, eating well, and being really present to what is happening, having more mindful awareness of our day to day. So in this session, first, I'm going to talk about how we might boost all of these mood boosting hormones through mindfulness. Mindful meditation has been shown to increase the levels of all of these. So I'll take you through my 3 top tips and a mindful practice. And then I'm going to hand over to the lovely Jenny, who can talk to you about nutrition and being very mindful with your eating. And then Andy is going to take us through some activity. It's not exercise, but a movement to really leave us feeling quite pumped for the rest of our day. But don't be worried about that. Andy just says, just make sure you've got a little bit of space around you. It's not going to be anything too strenuous. And then at the end, we'll have time for some Q&As. So mindfulness, going to put my mindfulness hat on now. Mindfulness is so helpful because we are naturally not hardwired for happiness. We are hardwired for survival. You know, our minds are like non-stick Teflon for happy memories, and like Velcro, that real sticky Velcro that holds onto unhappy memories. And that might sound quite negative, but really that's how well we've survived as a species. Yeah, it doesn't mean that we can't feel happiness, but we have to be more intentional, to pause, to notice, to have awareness of joyful moments as they happen, and then to bring them into our consciousness, to be aware of them as they happen, to remember them, to notice the impact that they have on our bodies. And when we do that, that really helps to turn those fleeting moments of joy into longer lasting feelings of happiness. Mindful awareness also helps to recognize the mood state that you're in. If you're getting stuck into brooding, ruminative cycles of thinking that are putting you into a more negative place, it helps you to cross-check some of that thinking with reality for more positive or realistic outcomes. But first of all, you have to have awareness that this is happening. So I'm just going to take you through 3 top tips for setting the tone of your day, for checking in to cross-check some of that negativity, and a way to end your day on a very positive reflection. So first off, my mindful step 1 is to set the tone of the day. We can sometimes wake up already feeling quite stressed or worried, anxious about the day ahead. And so just sitting on the edge of the bed, taking a few conscious, mindful breaths, just acknowledging whatever mood state you wake up in, just sitting with it, and then giving yourself a chance to positively reframe that so that you get to set the tone. I also really recommend taking a mindful walk in nature in the daylight hours. So in the morning, getting that daylight into the back of your eye, kickstart your serotonin levels, and to kickstart, your internal body clock too. A mindful walk means that you're connecting with the surroundings around you. It's been shown to lower your stress levels by up to 60%, just taking that walk out in nature. Connecting with something bigger than yourself, again, really helps you to increase that level of well-being that you have. Step 2 is, mindfulness, self-care isn't difficult, but remembering to do it is. So we have to intentionally step off the busy train throughout our day to be able to take really good care of ourselves. So I suggest diarising, perhaps every hour, a reminder that just tells you to pause so that you can stop, have a check-in with, ask yourself, how am I feeling physically and emotionally right now? Is my body trying to tell me something? Is there something that I need? And then taking action for that. And that will help you to drink more, eat more regularly, to move your body, to take a break when you need it. Yeah. And by the end of the day, hopefully then you'll just have a greater sense of well-being and less stress. So step 3, as I mentioned, we can turn fleeting moments of joy into longer lasting feelings of happiness by taking a pause for more positive reflection. So I just want to briefly guide you through a practice. It's called a glad practice, something that I like to do as I'm laying in bed at night so that I can drift off feeling accomplished, happy and content. And it often sets me up for a deeper sleep. So, just finding a comfy space on your chair, closing the eyes if you want to. You don't have to. You might just like to lower your gaze down to the floor. Bring in some awareness to your feet on the floor, feeling your feet resting on the floor or resting in your shoes. Become aware of your body resting here on the chair or the surface that you're on, feeling gravity drawing you down very securely down towards the ground. No need to breathe in a particular way, but you might have awareness that your body is very softly expanding and contracting with every in-breath and out-breath. And now I invite you to ask yourself, what happened today? What's happened today so far that you're grateful for? Maybe it was that you were able to find the time to join the session. Maybe someone made you a lovely cup of coffee that was unexpected and appreciated. Well, if you're finding it difficult to think of something, maybe just start with the bigger things, that you're grateful that you have a home to live in and the ability to put food in your cupboards. You can start big and then make those actions smaller and smaller. Okay, so now we're going to move to the L in your glad practice. Has there been something that you've learned today? Maybe you've learned something already from this webinar, although it's only me speaking so far. Or maybe you heard something quite interesting on the radio. Maybe you've gained a bit of insight into yourself. What did you learn today? The A stands for what did you accomplish today? And I think this is a really important step because we tend to only focus on what we haven't accomplished on our to-do list. When we come to really think about, well, what did I manage to achieve so far today? We find we've done so many things that weren't even on our to-do list. So let's focus on the to-do list, as I like to call it. What have you accomplished today? And then the D stands for delight. What's happened today that's just given you a sense of delight, a moment of joy? For me, right before this session, it was feeling the sun on my skin and hearing the birds singing at the top of their voices. And just coming back slowly now, wiggling your fingers and your toes, noticing how you're feeling, and then opening your eyes when you're ready. Okay, so I'm going to send you a resource to be able to complete that practice, that glad practice after this session. But now I'm going to mindfully hand you over to Jenny, who's going to talk us through how we can increase our levels of happiness through nutrition and eating well. So Jenny, over to you.
Thank you. I'm feeling very mindful as I do this. It's very calming, isn't it? So essentially, when it comes to nutrition, we can be deficient in the very things and the very nutrients that help with the production of all of those neurotransmitters that Tricia spoke about in the introduction. So imagine a person who eats a diet that has lots of processed foods. There's lots in the press, isn't there, at the moment about ultra processed foods, for example. And we know how easily we can incorporate, even accidentally, ultra processed foods into our day-to-day living, whether it's jars of pasta sauce or whether it's something with one of the refined oils in it. But processed food is a bit easier to ascertain what it is and where it is and to avoid, yet it still does make it into people's diets and sometimes exclusively. Now, for those people, they're not going to be getting the very nutrients that they really, really need. And certainly we know that from all of the studies that have been done, there are three nutrients that if we're deficient in, it will really, really affect, or three, I'm going to say groups of nutrients that will really affect your overall sense of happiness, stress, and anxiety. And the first one is your group of B vitamins. Now, B vitamins do really come as a group, other than B12, which we can sort of think of as slightly separate. B12, if you are familiar with it, is something that most of us, if we eat a sort of fairly balanced, and we'll come on to what balanced is later, diet, should be getting enough. Those that don't easily get enough B12 are those that are on a solely plant-based diet. So it is something that if you are fully plant-based, you will need to look at supplementing. But we know that B12 can help regulate both serotonin and dopamine. So it's important to try and get a combination of animal-based products, and that could just be dairy and eggs if you're vegetarian. It could be meat and fish and poultry if you're everything. And if you're somebody that is plant-based, like I say, you can either supplement. There are some food sources, including some foods that have been fortified, but otherwise it is something to be aware of in terms of regulating our sort of mood boosting serotonin and dopamine. And then B6 and B1, which by and large will help with serotonin and dopamine, but also helping therefore manage our stress and anxiety levels. And so B1 and B6 we'll find in lots of seeds. So flax seeds and chia seeds are great, but also sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. Pork is a source of B1. What else is there? Dark green leafy vegetables. So again, trying to include variety. Spinach is an easy one to rely on, but broccoli, kale would be good. Cavolo nero even, seasonal. Omega-3 is another one that many of us, even though we live on an island, we're surrounded by water, many of us don't eat anywhere near as much fish as even 60 years ago. And certainly, therefore, we're not necessarily going to get our omega-3, which comes from oily fish. And the best acronym I can give you to remember which they are is SMASH: salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. But what's now happening is that we're moving into, and I mentioned processed foods and things like margarine and vegetable oil, they're high in omega-6. And so what's out of whack now is our omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. And what we're finding is that's also associated with a decrease in happiness, increase in anxiety, and increase in stress. So we need to try and redress that balance with an omega-3 influx and less omega-6s in our diet. And vitamin D, which, is quite pertinent really, because human beings, if you think about it, we were sort of designed originally to live a lot closer to the equator and to walk around naked all day. So we would have been absorbing a lot more sun, and we would have been converting that into vitamin D. And we know that vitamin D, there's even syndromes, SAD, for example, seasonal affective disorder, that seems to be associated with a deficiency in vitamin D. And again, the little tip that I like to remind people of is if your shadow is longer than you are tall, then the vitamin D is not a possibility at that point in the year. The sun is too low in the sky for you to be able to get any benefit from it. So, and that will be most of us right now. If you were out earlier on, Tricia, walking the dog, you probably noticed that your shadow is still a bit longer than you are tall. For the time being, it won't be long before it changes. So there's certainly deficiencies that we can be aware of when it comes to nutrition. But there are also things that we could be aware of in terms of, oh, hold on, I've forgotten, lost where I was up to there. Things that we can be aware of in terms of sort of changes that we can make. So one of the things that people may find is that they are quite susceptible, let's say, to the effects of caffeine. And that can certainly make people not only more anxious, raise blood pressure, but it can affect sleep. And of course, we know that when we feel more tired, it's a lot harder to manage stress, anxiety, and actually even to feel happy sometimes. We might feel happy and very unhappy in a roller coaster ride. I'm sure people are aware of that sort of symptom or syndrome. Having an abundance of healthy snacks at the ready. We are a culture that have way too many snacks at every possible checkout, in every supermarket, and everywhere we go to spend money, there will be something alluring in the snack department to try and get our attention. And even these days, people are starting to be perhaps more attracted to things that tell them that they're good for them, with high protein labeling, etc. But there are so many things that we could grab, you know, fruit, nuts, seeds, yes, but also things like having yogurt with some fresh fruit in it, or hummus with some chopped up vegetables, whatever you've got, carrots, celery, whatever it is. But all of those things are going to create in you a much better control of blood glucose, which actually helps us balance our mood as well. So what we're looking for is every snack that you choose to have protein and fiber in it, but ideally those would be from natural sources. And then the third one really is to eat mindfully. So we know that when we slow down, we connect more with the food that we're eating. And certainly being more mindful, being slower in that process can help. But it's very easy for me to say that. So if you did happen to have a bit of food near you or in your hand right now, I'm going to make 3 suggestions as to how you could approach that food to help you eat more mindfully. So one of them is when we want to slow down, when we want to eat more mindfully, when we want to connect more with the food that we're eating. This is going to sound a bit strange, perhaps, but you can either cover your eyes, close your eyes, or wear some sort of sort of mask to cover your eyes, because some of us cheat a little bit. But actually turning off the sense, the visual sense, means that often other senses are heightened. So by doing that, we can connect much more with the taste, the texture, the temperature, all of those different assets that the food has, and actually appreciate what we're having more as a result. So that's one thing to do. So perhaps if you do have that food with you right now, just take a little nibble and then see if you do feel that there's any difference to how that food normally tastes or how it normally feels in the mouth, etc. The second one, and to try and again help us connect with food, is not to use your dominant hand when you're eating. Now, this could create chaos depending on what it is. If it's soup, it can get a little bit messy, as my son and I found out the other night. I splashed his hockey shirt and he had a hockey match today. But anyway, it's a good fun thing to do to again just slow down and connect with the food. So it just sort of disrupts the pattern of normal eating, because quite often if we eat with our dominant hand, we eat really quickly. It becomes more of a functional thing than an enjoyable, pleasurable thing. Again, we're not really connecting with the food. So eating with the opposite hand from the normal hand, for me, that would be my left, but for my daughter, it would be her right. And then the third one is to, if you do find yourself sometimes overeating, which often we do, and it's a symptom that's associated with stress, is to try, and again, if you've got one piece of food now, this isn't necessarily going to work, but this is something to bear in mind for future reference, is to try and interrupt that. So if you're really sort of enjoying something, but you think actually you're probably overeating it and maybe not connecting with it, is to try something of a different temperature, of a different texture, of a different taste. Again, just disrupt that pattern and help you connect more with, am I actually eating too much? Have I had enough of this food? Or do I want to carry on? Am I still enjoying it enough to carry on? So those would be my 3 sort of suggestions for trying to get into more of a mindful way of eating, such that you not only enjoy your food, but again, there is one study that I've seen that has actually shown that when we eat more mindfully, we absorb more of the nutrients from the food. And I would imagine, just from my knowledge, again, it wasn't explained in the study, but that is to do with the fact that we produce things called digestive enzymes that help us to break down food more efficiently. Our production of digestive enzymes, and certainly our production of stomach acid, which of course does help break down food as well, declines when we are stressed. We don't produce as much because our body is focusing on other things, as Tricia said, survival. So again, by slowing down, by reducing our levels of stress, by introducing some mindful eating practices, we can engage better with the food, but we can absorb more nutrients, which means in turn, we're much more likely to produce the neurotransmitters that support us in maintaining that level of happiness, less anxiety, and less stress.
Oh, thanks, Jenny. That was so great. And I cannot wait. I was chuckling to myself. So I'm thinking, I'm so going to have the family eating left-handed tonight. So that should be really, really fun. And I wasn't aware of the SMASH acronym as well. So that's really easy to remember. And we do like fish, but we just don't eat enough of it. So again, I'm going to have that now in the back of my mind. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Andrew. Andrew, would you like to come and do your thing?
Okay, so let's get moving. My key point, I've got 5 minutes. We're going to get moving. So I want you to stand up right now. We're just going to stomp on the spot. If you are in the office, yes, you may look a little bit strange, but no one cares. Let's move. Okay, so we've been sat down a little bit. Now, when it comes to just releasing, just keep moving, just stomp on the spot. When it comes to releasing these happy hormones, the first thing you just ticked off is you've stood up, you've ticked off the box, we are now exercising, okay? You're moving, you're increasing your heart rate ever so slightly. Now, the problem is we can't really release endorphins with this level of activity. We've got to kind of up it. So before we start any kind of strenuous exercise, if you are feeling unwell or if you've got an injury, please do not get involved, just observe. So what we're going to be doing for 10 seconds, you're either going to sit on your chair or squat on the spot like I'm doing now, or you're going to be sprinting on the spot like I'm doing, okay? So we're going to do 10 seconds only. So you get ready, set yourself up. We're going to release those endorphins just a little bit, a short burst. I'll be getting ready in 3, 2, ready, let's go. Sprint on the spot, nice and quick. Everyone, I know you might look a bit mental right now, but let's keep it going. You've got 10 seconds, keep going. And all right, rest that. That first one, go back to a stomp, just relax your shoulders. That's it, love it. Slowly climb. We're going to do that one time. I'm also going to be stretched a little bit. Or make you feel problem lack movement. The 3 tips I'm going to be saying is do a D, E, C. You can't hear me?
No, it's still.
Change that. Is that better? Okay, sorry guys, I have had some lovely, interesting experience with this audio. Now, when I'm looking at the 3 tips, we're looking at DEC, daily walk, enjoyment, and community. The reason why I say daily walk, Tricia's kind of touched on this around just feeling better in ourselves and making sure that we are actively moving, exposing ourselves to vitamin D, the sun. But we all know, every single one of you, when you are naturally a bit more active, you do feel better. Now, when it comes to things like weight maintenance or weight management, or even actually dropping a little bit of weight, it's so important to move. It's so important to just feel better in yourself. And I'm not saying you have to hit the 10,000 step mark. All I'm saying is do something just a little bit more than you're already doing. So number 1 is a daily walk. Now, number 2 is enjoyment. Okay. What do I mean by enjoyment? If you're not enjoying something, it is highly unlikely that you are going to stick to it. So I'm saying is, if you just enjoy walking for now, fantastic. It could even be a hobby of going trampolining, it could be going swimming, going to the spa, it could be going to the gym, doing an exercise class. Find something that you enjoy, because you are more likely to stick to it, and with consistency, you are going to actually get better results. You're going to have that sense of reward and progression. And most importantly, I think a lot of you are actually going to feel like, you know what, I feel better, okay, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Then lastly is community. I don't know about you, but when it comes to community, when you feel like, oh, I don't have any motivation, I can't be bothered to do something, knowing that you've booked into a class, knowing that you're a part of something, whether it's online, in person, you know that they're going to hold you accountable and they may expect you to turn up and show up. It allows you to know that, you know what, I'm not alone. And I think it's so easy for people to try and do this all alone. But we all know that when you do it with someone else who understands you and also really appreciates that we are going to go through hard times, especially I can't be bothered to exercise, it does really help. It releases that oxytocin of that connection. So please remember to seek out, one, a daily walk, two, enjoyment. Find what you enjoy when it comes to physical exercise. And then three is community. So what we're going to do finishing off at the moment, so sit yourself right on the edge of your chair. Okay, we're just going to finish off with some stretches. I've gone over by 20 seconds, apologies. So we're going to finish. So I want you to go right on the edge of the chair, nice and tall, arms by your side, and just take a deep breath in and breathe out. Deep breath in, breathe out. Now you're going to interlink your fingers. You're going to push them to the screen and round your upper back, stretching that back. And we all know that we round our shoulders when we're on the computer. So let's round it. And then from here, just be mindful of the people around you or anything. Open your arms up and just stretch out. We're just slowly bringing that heart rate down, stretching that body. And then again, interlink. This is one thing you could do exercise-wise. You could just do this every single day. 3 to 5 reps, open all the way out. Nice deep stretch. We're going to do one last time. Interlink. Nice deep stretch. And also the reason why I say DEC, if we kind of remember like December, okay? Everyone loves December because it's presents and family and food. So that's something to just really kind of cement in your memory. DEC, daily walk, enjoyment, and community. I hope that helps.
Oh, thanks, Andy. And sorry that we lost a bit of audio there, but because it was a practical, I was able to kind of follow along as well. Anyway, so hopefully everybody else did too. I really love what you said there about community, and I'm thinking about people who are, we're all working from home, we're all quite remote, we're all quite isolated, about also being more intentional, perhaps about buddying up maybe with someone and putting in some time so that you're online, perhaps doing a little short workout together or a stretch or something like that. There are ways that we can connect even though we are working so remotely right now. And I personally, I find that really helps to do that too. Thank you, Andy. Just some time now to take some questions. Wow, we're all having some tech issues today, aren't we? Lovely to see you. If anyone else has any Q&A, any questions to ask, then please fire away.
I'm just busy over on the chat answering questions, just so you know. Just wondering what I'm doing.
No, I can see that you've answered that too. So I will send you everybody who's joined today and everyone who signed up a copy of this recording. I will also send you some resources as well, just a little brief summary of what we've discussed today. If anybody here would like a discovery call to see how they might get some more happiness into their day, either with one-to-ones with any of us, or if you'd like to bring well-being into your organization, then please do just get in touch. Okay, I'm going to put some details of how you can do that as well into the email that I'll be sending you all. Irina has just put into the chat here, what are your views on the paleo diet? So I think this is one for you, Jenny.
Yeah, so paleo basically means without carbohydrates, grain form of carbohydrates. So carbohydrates would still exist, but they would exist in vegetable form rather than grains, which didn't exist during Paleolithic times. Certainly some people do brilliantly on a Paleolithic style diet. There are many different versions of it, but it is quite difficult in the modern world that we live in to sort of survive on that kind of basis. You do have to be careful to get your balanced macros. By that I mean carbohydrate, protein, fat. So it is something that, like I say, it can really benefit people, but it's quite difficult to sustain. And you sort of have, well, you do have to know what you're doing in terms of your macronutrient balance, and certainly getting enough fiber, because again, as our society is sort of set up, you know, a lot of our fiber comes from things like pulses and things like whole grains and so on. So making sure you're still getting that within the Paleolithic diet is important. That was a succinct answer. There's a lot more to it than that, but
Yeah, lovely.
yeah,
Thank you.
Irina,
Yeah.
I can understand that. I mean, I've done paleo myself for periods in the past, and it can be really helpful and healthful. You do need to, I say, not beyond even knowing what you're doing. You also need to check, you know, that it doesn't sort of undermine anything else that you're doing or any underlying health conditions that you have. Some people who go about it without doing the right research will end up having too many or too high a level of protein in their diet, animal-based protein, which actually can be quite acidic on the body and can tax things like organs like kidneys, etc., if they're not, you know, functioning at a full whatever health. So yeah, it's just important to get that right. Yeah. Okay, good.
Lovely. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending today. I hope that you enjoyed that session. I hope that the sun is shining for you like it is for me here in Hollyport right now, and that you perhaps have time now to get out and have a mindful walk in the sunshine, perhaps have a mindful snack, get that body moving, and just notice how it makes you feel throughout the rest of your day. But for now, I say take care and stay tuned to look out for our next mindful musings that will be happening next month. Take care.